州的和平谈判里头，有一个非常重要的是，很多美国不了解的专家，他们认为这是一个重大的发展，就是克里米亚，乌克兰同意15年之内都不讨论这个话题，可以慢慢的协商，并且希望乌克兰的总统泽连斯基可以和普丁见面。普丁很快的回应说，现在不是见面的时间。同时明白地表示，克里米亚不可以列为谈判的条件，因为克里米亚呢，在当时2014年的时候，已经合法按照普丁的说法，按照国际的合法方式，他以公投的方式选择了回归到了俄罗斯，所以他根本不应该是这次战争里头谈判的一个要件。而这场战争，我们刚刚在前面是为大家分析，很可能是想打一场天长地久的战争。希望它不是事实，希望美国的外交期刊的预测是错误的，但也很可能，如果以叙利亚内战来看，是非常有可能。那在这个情况之下，如果只打到2022年的话，那么很多人说就会拖垮俄罗斯，但按照国际的估计，俄罗斯的经济会下滑至多10%到20%，乌克兰呢可能20%到35%，甚至来得更多。乌克兰的战损是难以想象的，而国际专家也为大家提出警告：乌克兰战争告诉了大家一件什么事情？这个世界正走回一次世界大战1919年所结束的那一场世界大战，所以爆发的原因，第一个就是小国跟某些大国之间因为民族国家的意识而产生了军事冲突。第二个，在一些其他的大国的煽火之下，这场战争一发不可收拾。
什么是战争的代价？乌克兰经济部长尤利亚斯·维里登科3月28号在脸书给出了数字：1190亿美元是乌克兰基础设施的损失，包括8000公里的道路、1000万平方公尺的住房以及20万辆汽车。如果从基础设施加上经济增长及其他损失，这个数字将高达5649亿美元。
There are many ways to count the cost of war. Eventually, they will have a number for the dead, for the civilians and soldiers on both sides. For now, the Kyiv School of Economics is counting the cost of physical damage to infrastructure. Every hour, it gets more out of date. But after a month of war, they estimated the cost of rebuilding at $63 billion. They counted 4,431 residential buildings, 92 factories, 378 schools and colleges, and 138 hospitals damaged, destroyed, or seized.
We drove to the village Novi Petrivce, north of Kyiv, only a few miles from the front line. Even the streets here are pockmarked with shrapnel and massive impact craters. Whole buildings laid to waste. I mean, just look at the utter destruction caused by this massive explosion. There's some really thick brick walls, and even they were annihilated by the force of whatever landed here. The people here tell us they only felt one really large explosion, and it wounded several people and killed a small child. That child was 2-year-old Stepan, killed while in his bed when the house came under fire. These videos given to us by local authorities show the chaos in the aftermath. As the wounded appear in shock, residents and rescuers try to save those who were inside. Stepan pronounced dead on the scene. Stepan was Oleg Shpak's second youngest child. We found Oleg sifting through the rubble of his house days later. Inside, he shows me the damage caused by the explosion. He was at work when his home was hit. His wife, the other children, and his mother-in-law had already been brought to the hospital when he arrived at the house. Stepan couldn't be saved, and because of staff shortages at the morgue, Oleg had to prepare his son's body for burial himself.
I had to wash him, to dress him, his head from his right ear to his left ear. One large hematoma, his arms, his legs, a total hematoma not compatible with life. And besides that, lots of other wounds were discovered after death.
The negotiating teams arrived in a dark convoy, but nothing about these talks were black and white. It's the grey area where the delegates are working to find common ground.
Ukrainian officials saying no foreign troops. All have to leave Ukraine. But that Ukraine would negotiate on the future status of Russian-backed separatist areas in Donbass, leave open the issue of Russian-held Crimea, and critically accept neutrality, not pursuing NATO membership.
But only if it had international support. It wants security guarantees from up to 8 countries, including Turkey, France and the United States.
谈判又回到原点，甚至比明斯克协议更糟。
Спасаем вещи, а что делать? Ничего не осталось, кроме этого.
4 million people are out of the country, including, bizarrely enough, I was counted as a refugee when I was leaving through the Romanian border. I was like, no, I'm a journalist, I'm an American citizen. No, you're a Ukrainian, you're also, okay.
Nothing can help 5-year-old Jan understand how he and his mother ended up here, a packed convention hall in Warsaw, Poland, filled with thousands of Ukrainians. And what's now the largest Ukrainian refugee hub in all of Europe, with up to 7,000 refugees here a day. The 1.5 million square foot expo is now a gateway to the rest of the world, where after crossing into Poland, refugees begin the real process, finding a temporary life beyond war.
They're waiting to go somewhere.
Где вы ездите теперь? Где уезжаете? В Эстонию уезжаете.
Those with no destination yet, wait.
You know, 8 million people, IDPs within the country. So that's about a third of, or a quarter of a population has had to move from their homes. There are tens of millions of people more who could be forced to move from their homes if the Russians just start bombing other cities. They've only really made the decision to destroy Mariupol at this point to send a message to Kiev and the other cities about what it is they're capable of. But they've only destroyed one city. So they could make this much more painful for tens of millions of people. They're capable of it.
欧洲天然气期货价格30号大幅上涨，荷兰 TTF 天然气期货5月合约价格收于每兆瓦时118.75欧元，涨幅为8.60%。
今年1月以来，印尼收紧棕榈油的出口，加上2月底俄乌冲突爆发，乌克兰的葵花籽油供应中断，印度食用油缺口逐渐扩大。印度多家食用油炼油厂商以每吨2150美元的价格，跟俄罗斯签订了至少4.5万吨4月交货的葵花籽油合同。这一价格与俄乌爆发冲突前的每吨1630美元，涨幅达31.9%。
有些损失可以用数字衡量，有些不能。
47-year-old Yuri Solemka died on the 18th of March from wounds sustained in the frontline city of Mykolaiv. His mother, Lyudmila, struggles through the ceremony. These are indeed the times that try a people's soul. Yuri was a volunteer, not a regular soldier. He was given full military honors. Beyond the customs of respect for a man who died in battle for a nation at war lies the trauma of the woman who brought him into this world. He decided on his own to join the army, says Lyudmila. He hadn't told me. He was a good father and a good son. There can be nothing more painful for a mother than to attend the funeral of her child. A son killed in a war not of his choosing. Yuri's lies with other freshly dug graves. Before this funeral ends, preparations begin for the next. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.